Hello, I'm Colum Coleman, and welcome to Historical Humans Reads, where we take primary sources and bring them to your screen. Today we are reading an excerpt from the Journal of Meriwether Lewis during the famed Lewis and Clark expedition. The expedition was chartered by US President Thomas Jefferson to explore and catalog the US territories of the Pacific Northwest and the newly acquired Louisiana Purchase. The excerpt we will be reading is from the 7th of April, 1805, during the third year of the four-year expedition. Having, on this day at 4 p.m., completed every arrangement necessary for our departure, we dismissed the barge and crew, with orders to return without loss of time to St. Louis. A small canoe with 2 French hunters accompanied the barge. These men had ascended the Missouri with us the last year as engages. The barge crew consisted of six soldiers and 2 Frenchmen. 2 Frenchmen and a Ricara Indian also take their passage in her as far as the Ricara villages, at which place we expect Taboo to embark with his peltry, who in that case will make an addition of 2, perhaps 4 men to the crew of the barge. We gave Richard Worthington, a discharged corporal, the charge of the barge and crew, and confided to his care likewise our dispatches to the government, letters to our private friends, and a number of articles to the President of the United States. One of the Frenchmen, by the name of Joseph Graveline, an honest, discreet man, and an excellent boatman, is employed to conduct the barge as pilot. We have, therefore, every hope that the barge with her our dispatches will arrive safely at St. Louis. Mr. Graveline, who speaks the Ricara language extremely well, has been employed to conduct a few of the Ricara chiefs to the seat of government, who have promised us to descend the barge to St. Louis with that view. At the same moment that the barge departed from Fort Mandan, Captain Clark embarked with our party and proceeded up the river. As I had used no exercise for several weeks, I determined to talk on the shore as far as our encampment this evening. Accordingly, I continued my walk on the north side of the river about 6 miles to the upper village of the Mandans, and called on the Black Cat, or Posé Kopsaha, the great chief of the Mandans. He was not at home. As I rested myself a minute, and finding that the party had not arrived, I returned about 2 miles and joined them at their encampment on the north side of the river, opposite the lower Mandan village. Our party now consisted of the following individuals: Sergeants John Ordway, Nathaniel Pryor, and Patrick Gass; Privates William Bratton, John Coulter, Reuben and Joseph Fields, John Shields, George Gibson, George Shannon, John Potts, John Collins, Joseph Whitehouse, Richard Windsor, Alexander Willard, Hugh Hall, Silas Goodrich, Robert Frazier, Cousat, John Baptiste LePage, Francis Labiac, Hugh McNeil, William Werner, Thomas B. Howard, Peter Weiser, and John B. Thompson. Interpreters George Drewer and Toussaint Charbonneau, also a black man by the name of York, servant to Captain Clark, an Indian woman, wife to Charbonneau with a young child, and a Mandan man who had promised to accompany us as far as the Snake Indians with a view to bring about a good understanding and friendly intercourse between that nation and his own, the Minnetarees and the Aloharawais. Our vessels consisted of 6 small canoes, 2 large pirogues. This little fleet, although not quite so respectable as those of Columbus or Captain Cook, were still viewed by us with as much pleasure as those deservedly famed adventurers ever beheld theirs, and, I dare say, with quite as much anxiety for their safety and preservation. We were now about to penetrate a country at least 2,000 miles in width, on which the foot of civilized man had never trodden. The good or evil it had in store for us was for experiment yet to determine, and these little vessels contained every article by which we were to expect to subsist or defend ourselves. However, as this state of mind in which we are generally gives the coloring to events when the imagination is suffered to wander into futurity, the picture which has now presented itself to me was a most pleasing one. Entertaining, now as I do, the most confident hope of succeeding in a voyage which had formed a darling project of mine for the last 10 years of my life, I could but esteem this moment of my departure as among the most happy of my life. The party are in excellent health and spirits, zealously attached to the enterprise and anxious to proceed. Not a whisper of murmur or discontent to be heard among them, but all act in unison and with most perfect harmony. I took an early supper this evening and went to bed. Captain Clark, myself, the two interpreters, and the woman and child sleep in a tent of dressed skins. This tent is in the Indian style, formed from a number of dressed buffalo skins sewed together with sinews. It is cut in such a manner that when folded double, it forms the quarter of a circle and is left open at one side, where it may be attached or loosened at the pleasure by strings, which are sewed to its sides for the purpose. To erect this tent, a parcel of 10 or 12 poles are provided, 4 or 5 of which are attached together at one end. They are then elevated, and their lower extremities are spread in a circular manner to a width proportionate to the dimension of the lodge. In the same position, other poles are linked against one another, and the leather is then thrown over them, forming a conic figure. That has been the Journal of Meriwether Lewis from April 7th, 1805. If you enjoyed this video and would like to hear more excerpts from original texts, please follow or subscribe to us on your platform of choice. If there is a work you would like to hear, be sure to like the video and leave a comment below. Thank you for listening.